September 13th, 1982, 11:47 p.m. The phone rang in Audrey Hepburn's Swiss home. She almost didn't answer. It was late. She was tired. But something made her reach for the receiver. Hello? Crying, desperate, broken crying on the other end. Audrey. The voice was barely recognizable through the sobs. It's Grace. Grace Kelly, Princess Grace of Monaco, one of Audrey's closest friends, and she was falling apart. Grace, what's wrong? What happened? I can't do this anymore. Grace's voice was shaking. I can't, I'm leaving, I have to leave. Audrey sat up in bed, fully alert now. Leaving? Leaving what? Monaco? Yes, tomorrow. I'm taking the children and leaving. I can't stay here another day. They're killing me, Audrey. Not quickly, slowly. Every day a little more. Who? Who's killing you? Rainier. The family, the palace. All of it. This prison they call a kingdom. I've been dying here for 26 years and I'm finally admitting it. Audrey had known Grace was unhappy. Everyone who knew her knew. But this level of desperation, this was new. This was dangerous. Grace, slow down. Tell me what happened. What happened? Grace laughed, a horrible, bitter sound. Nothing happened. That's the problem. Nothing ever happens. I wake up, I perform, I smile, I wave, I play the princess, and then I go to sleep, and I do it again the next day, for 26 years, and I can't do it anymore. Where are you right now? In my room, packing. The children are asleep. Rainier is in Paris. I'm leaving in the morning, driving to Switzerland, to you. To me? I need help, Audrey. I need someone who understands, someone who got out. You left Hollywood. You chose your own life. Help me do the same. Audrey's mind was racing. Grace Kelly didn't just leave Monaco. She was a princess. She had obligations, treaties, and the Grimaldi family didn't let people leave. Ever. Grace, have you thought this through? What about, I've thought about nothing else for 26 years. Grace's voice broke again. I made a mistake. I was 26 years old and I thought being a princess would be romantic. I thought it would be fairy tale, but it's not. It's a cage. And I'm suffocating. Does Rainier know you're leaving? Not yet. But he will tomorrow when he gets back and finds us gone. Let him deal with the scandal. Let him explain to Monaco why their princess fled in the night. I don't care anymore. Audrey chose her words carefully. Grace, if you leave, they won't just let you go. You know that. You're not just his wife. You're part of their treaty with France. You're their legitimacy. I know. Grace was crying harder now. That's why I'm scared. That's why I'm calling. Because I think, Audrey, I think if I try to leave, they might. She didn't finish. She didn't have to. You think they'd hurt you? Audrey whispered. I think they'd do whatever it takes to stop me. And I think they'd make it look like an accident. The room suddenly felt very cold. Grace, listen to me. If you're really this frightened, you need to be smart. You can't just run. You need a plan. You need protection. I need to get out. Grace was almost screaming now. Tomorrow, before Rainier gets back, before the family realizes what I'm doing, I'll drive to you. Please, Audrey, please help me. Audrey made a decision. Okay. Yes. Come here. Bring the children. We'll figure this out together. But Grace, please be careful. If you really think there's danger. There is danger. I know there is. But staying is more dangerous. Staying is killing me anyway, just slower. They talked for another hour, made plans. Grace would leave early, drive herself, take the coastal road to avoid attention, be at Audrey's by afternoon. Thank you, Grace said finally. Thank you for understanding. Thank you for not telling me I'm crazy. You're not crazy, Audrey said. You're trapped, and you deserve to be free. I'll see you tomorrow. Drive carefully, Audrey said. Please, Grace, be careful. I will. I love you, Audrey. I love you too. Grace hung up. Audrey sat holding the dead phone, staring at the wall. Something felt wrong. Something felt terribly, terribly wrong. She didn't sleep that night, just sat waiting for morning, waiting for Grace to arrive. The call came at 2 p.m. the next day. Not from Grace, from a reporter. Miss Hepburn, do you have any comment on Princess Grace's accident? Audrey's blood went cold. What accident? You haven't heard? Princess Grace had a car accident this morning on the coastal road. Her car went off a cliff. She's in critical condition. The phone slipped from Audrey's hand. Grace had been driving the coastal road. The road she'd told Audrey she'd take. The road that would bring her to Switzerland. To freedom. And her car had gone off a cliff. Audrey called the hospital in Monaco. They wouldn't let her speak to Grace. Family only. She called Prince Rainier's office. No comment. She called mutual friends. Nobody knew anything except what was on the news. Car accident. Critical condition. Prayers requested. Grace Kelly died the next day. September 14th, 1982. Official cause. Injuries sustained in car accident caused by stroke. She was 52 years old. Audrey flew to Monaco for the funeral, sat in the cathedral surrounded by royalty and dignitaries and people who'd kept Grace in her cage. And she said nothing. But she knew. She knew what Grace had told her 12 hours before that accident. Knew what Grace had been planning. Knew what Grace had feared. And she knew that Grace Kelly hadn't had a stroke. Grace Kelly had tried to escape, and someone had made sure she didn't. The official story was clean. Princess Grace had suffered a minor stroke while driving, lost control of the vehicle. Tragic accident, no one's fault, just terrible luck. But Audrey knew better. She knew about the phone call, the desperation, the fear, the plan to leave that very morning. She also knew she couldn't say anything. Who would believe her? A phone call in the night from a distraught friend didn't prove anything, and accusing the Grimaldi family of what? Murder? Conspiracy? She had no evidence, just a feeling. Just knowledge that Grace had been about to escape and suddenly, conveniently, was dead. So Audrey stayed silent, attended the funeral, hugged Grace's children, shook Prince Rainier's hand, and said nothing about the phone call, but she never forgot it. And she never believed the official story. Over the years, details emerged that troubled her even more. Grace's daughter Stephanie had been in the car, survived with minor injuries, but her account of what happened kept changing. First, she said she wasn't driving, then she said she was, then she couldn't remember. The car's brake lines were never properly examined. The investigation was cursory at best, closed within weeks, no mechanical failure found, just the stroke, just terrible luck. Audrey read everything, every article, every report, every witness statement. And nothing added up. Grace was an experienced driver. She'd driven that road hundreds of times. Yes, she'd had minor health issues, but a stroke severe enough to cause a fatal accident with no warning? And on the exact morning she was planning to flee, the coincidence was too perfect, too convenient. Audrey started making quiet inquiries, spoke to people who'd known Grace, palace staff, friends. Everyone told the same story. Grace had been miserable for years, trapped, controlled, monitored constantly. One former lady-in-waiting told Audrey something chilling. 2 weeks before the accident, Princess Grace asked me to help her make travel arrangements, private, unannounced. She wanted to go to Switzerland. I told her I couldn't help without informing the prince. She got very upset, said she'd find another way. Another friend said, Grace called me 3 days before she died, said she was planning something big, couldn't tell me what, but she sounded scared and excited at the same time, like she was finally doing something she'd wanted to do for years. The pieces formed a picture. Grace had been planning to leave. Multiple people knew she was unhappy. Some knew she was making plans. And then suddenly, She was dead. Audrey kept all of this to herself, told no one, not even Robert. Because what could she do? Start a conspiracy theory? Accuse a royal family of murder with no proof? Destroy Grace's children's image of their father? She couldn't, so she stayed silent. And the silence ate at her. In 1985, 3 years after Grace's death, Audrey returned to Monaco for a charity event. Prince Rainier was there. They spoke briefly. Polite conversation, nothing meaningful. But as Audrey was leaving, Rainier said something that stopped her cold. Grace was always so impulsive, making plans without thinking them through. It's fortunate we were able to manage her more passionate decisions. Audrey looked at him. Really looked at him. And in his eyes, she saw something. Knowledge, satisfaction, the look of a man who'd prevented a problem. Yes, Audrey said carefully. Fortunate. She left Monaco that night and never returned. Over the years, Audrey became increasingly convinced that Grace's death hadn't been an accident. The timing was too perfect, the investigation too brief, the convenient stroke too convenient. But she still couldn't prove anything, and she still couldn't speak publicly, so she carried the knowledge alone. The weight of knowing her friend had died trying to escape, and that someone had stopped her. In 1992, when Audrey was dying of cancer, reporters asked if she had any regrets. She said many things, but one answer stood out. I regret not speaking up when I should have. Not for myself, for others, for friends who needed someone to tell their truth when they couldn't. No one understood what she meant, but Audrey knew. She was talking about Grace. On her deathbed, January 1993, Audrey made a decision. She called her son Sean. I need to tell you something, she said, about Grace Kelly, about how she really died. And she told him everything. The phone call, the plan, the fear, the convenient accident, the conviction that it hadn't been an accident at all. Why are you telling me this now? Sean asked. Because I've carried it for 11 years, and I can't take it to my grave without someone knowing the truth. Even if we can't prove it, even if it changes nothing, someone needs to know that Grace Kelly tried to escape, and someone stopped her. Do you want me to investigate? Sean asked. Go public? No, Audrey said. I just need you to know, to remember, so Grace's truth doesn't die completely. Sean kept his mother's confession private for years, but in 2015, he finally spoke about it in an interview, carefully, without accusations. Just, my mother believed Grace Kelly's death wasn't as simple as the official story. She believed Grace was trying to leave Monaco that day. Make of that what you will. The interview caused a minor stir. Conspiracy theorists seized on it. The Grimaldi family denied everything. Experts debated, but nothing changed. The official story remained. Tragic accident caused by stroke. But now people knew there was another version. Audrey Hepburn's version. The version where Grace Kelly tried to escape a gilded cage and was stopped. Whether it's true, we'll probably never know for certain. The evidence is gone. The witnesses are dead. The palace guards its secrets well. But we know this. Grace Kelly called Audrey Hepburn at 11:47 p.m. on September 13, 1982. She was crying. She said she was leaving Monaco the next morning. She said she was afraid they would stop her. She said she feared they'd make it look like an accident. 12 hours later, she had an accident, and she died. And Audrey Hepburn spent the last 11 years of her life believing her friend had been murdered for trying to be free. That's not proof. It's not evidence. But it's what Audrey believed. And Audrey knew Grace better than most, knew what she was capable of, knew what she feared, knew what she wanted, and what Grace wanted more than anything was to escape, to be herself again, to be free. She tried, and she failed, and Audrey watched it happen. helpless to stop it, powerless to change it, unable to speak about it. Until the very end, when she finally told someone. Finally let Grace's truth escape, even if Grace herself never could. The phone call happened. That much is certain. Everything else is speculation, belief, conviction without proof. But sometimes the truth isn't about what you can prove. It's about what you know in your bones, what you feel in your gut, what you see in someone's eyes when they're terrified and desperate and trying to escape. Audrey knew. She knew for 11 years. She died knowing. And now we know too. Whether we believe it is up to us. But Grace Kelly's last phone call to Audrey Hepburn? That happened. And 12 hours later, Grace was dead. Coincidence or conspiracy, accident or murder? Audrey believed she knew the answer, and she carried that knowledge to her grave.